Hello, and welcome to Temple of the False Pod, where our decks are not optimized, but our plays sure as heck are fun. I'm Andy.
I'm Bruce.
He's back!
I'm back.
And he has no more jet lag, right?
Yeah. What time is it? It doesn't matter.
That's how I feel all the time. Well, we're here. It's October. Season 13, baby. Spooky.
Yes.
Spooky 13 in October. We got a great season coming up. Talking all things about casual magic, whether we're talking about Commander or 60 card or some sort of multiplayer draft format that may or may not come out within the next year. I'm hearing rumors that Conspiracy 3 is coming, baby.
Come on.
They're not reliable sources, but
Sources
a man can dream. Yeah. I will not divulge my sources.
And I will say that when this comes out, I'll be older.
Oh yeah, tomorrow's your birthday.
No. It's.
I mean, we'll all be older tomorrow.
It's still later. I think I'm on.
Oh yeah, no,
weekend.
that's right. This episode doesn't come out tomorrow. We're
right.
actually recording ahead of time. Oh my god!
Right. So it will have already been my birthday on the weekend. I enjoyed a long weekend and probably had turkey because it's Canadian Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah.
So that's how I celebrate my birthday. So.
Oh, we got a show for you today.
You bet.
All the things that Bruce missed while he was in Greece, because, I mean, I guess he had internet out there probably. These maybe he didn't. We had the beautiful MagicCon Las Vegas happen while you were in Greece. Where they showed off some cool previews for the upcoming set out of Ixalan, my precious Ixalan. And alongside that, they had Universes Beyond Jurassic Park! That's how he says it in the movie, right? I haven't seen it in some number of years, but Jurassic Park! And with that, I think they previewed, 3 cards? I do like that the set code for this, whatever it's going to be. I didn't watch the stream, so I don't know if this is like a set or like a secret layer drop. But the set code, the 3 letters is REX, because like T-Rex.
Yeah.
Or I guess in this case Indominus Rex.
Yes.
So these cards are based off of the first movie of 7, I think they're at now, 6.
Yeah, something.
And we figured we'd just kind of go through them real quick, talk about them, give our opinions.
Yeah.
Field any questions that we had for one another, because some of them confused me. Yeah. So, anything else you want to say before we jump in?
Let's just jump right in.
Let's jump right in.
Yeah.
First one we've got is Welcome to. It's a saga for green 1. It's got 3 chapters. The first chapter says, for each opponent, up to 1 target non-creature artifact that they control becomes a 0/4 artifact creature wall with Defender as long as you control this saga. Cool. So, their treasure, I guess, becomes a wall that they cannot sacrifice because it doesn't retain any of its natural abilities. Or their Soul Ring becomes a 0/4 wall. Or their Mana Crypt becomes a 0/4 wall.
I will say that it doesn't say that it takes away the abilities, right?
Well, it doesn't say that it keeps them. Is generally how it's formatted, right?
I don't remember.
Yeah, usually it says in addition to.
Oh, okay. Well, perfect. So then...
So I believe it just becomes a 0-4 wall.
Yeah.
As it's not going to matter too much in a couple turns. So the second turn, it comes around, you draw a card that triggers again. Chapter 2 is create a 3/3 green dinosaur creature token with trample. It gains haste until end of turn. I always find it weird when it says it gains haste until end of turn, because it's like, why don't you just create a token that has haste?
You just say it gets haste. Yeah.
Or just like it's got haste and trample. And I guess like maybe that's for like if you're copying it. I don't know. I'm sure that there's a reason that it's probably broken if the token itself has haste. And then 3, destroy all walls. Exile this saga, then return it to the battlefield transformed under your control. So chapter 3 destroys the wall from the beginning. And I guess any other walls. How many walls are going to be? How many walls do you come across in Commander? We got
not many.
Wall of Blossoms, yeah. Wall of Omens, Pramicon.
What's the wall that
Changelings?
There's a wall that gives you, what is it, life for the biggest toughness of a creature.
Oh yeah, that one.
I think that's a yeah.
What's the one that Harry plays? The shroudy one.
It can host somebody who's playing a defender deck.
That's true. Or Changelings.
Yeah.
But overall, it's just flavorful to get rid of the thing you made at the first.
Yeah.
It flips. It flips. Or transforms, sorry. There's a difference. Into...
Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Each dinosaur card in your graveyard has escape. The escape cost is equal to the card's mana cost plus exile 3 other cards from your graveyard, and then you can also tap to add green for each dinosaur you control. So it's dinosaur ball to an extent. Like, it's just going to create more and more.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like, I understand flavorfully, like, dinosaurs escaping is like the Jurassic Park thing. Yep. But like within the mechanics of the game, it feels weird to have like them coming back from the. No, I guess that makes sense. Never mind. That's exactly what the movie's about. Is them coming back from the dead.
It absolutely works. Couple things. The card is a legendary land, so you won't get to do this repeat. You won't get to have multiples out. And that tap to add green for each dinosaur you control. That's Gaia's Cradle for dinosaur decks, but not for any of the decks.
Changelings.
Right. So you're adding green for each dinosaur you control. That's
it's fine.
That's of limited use, but yeah, this card is super flavor.
Yeah, I love it.
Super flavor. And honestly, welcome to you get to pick a non-creature artifact that an opponent controls. Yes, maybe it's going to be a treasure, but the way I see it is it's probably going to be a Soul Ring. Soul Ring or something better.
Yeah,
and you get to take that away. And yeah, sure, they get an 0/4 wall artifact creature with Defender for a couple more turns. You'll be just fine.
Yeah.
You're going to destroy all the walls and then get to flip this thing. And when you flip it, in theory, you will have at least one dinosaur, even if you've done nothing else with dinosaurs. So
yeah.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the flip artifacts from the first time that we went to Ixalan. Where, I mean, like, obviously one of them flipped into a Gaia's Cradle. But it just feels like that kind of thing where it's putting more work into getting these, like, semi-busted cards, you know. Your Gaia's Cradles, your... I think one of them turns into Lotus Veil. So, like, it's nice. I don't know. Or I guess those... Some of them were enchantments, I think, maybe.
To be fair, I think I would kind of like this with the bounce lands.
Hmm.
I understand. You want to have Jurassic Park out first before you get the bounce land, because you're going to get it back and go through all the steps again.
Yeah.
And in theory, that bounce land is going to be sitting in your hand an awful long time as you go through each of those 3 turns to flip it, to then bounce it back to your hand so you can play it back out for 3 more mana. But, this is a flavor first card, and you are getting to get rid of probably 3 different artifacts that you wouldn't mind seeing gone anyway.
Yeah.
So I'll take that.
That's welcome to / Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
It's fun. It doesn't seem like overly busted. I think you can do some silly things with this. Your untapped target land type things.
Yeah.
In very specific decks, but that's what our return to Ixalan's going to be, is dinosaurs, pirates, and I know that they are trying to stay away from the strictly typal archetypes in the set, but I mean, we're going to see some beloved types like dinosaur, pirate, etc.
Right.
Speaking of types, we've got some types that we haven't seen maybe ever. First up, we have Ian Malcolm, Chaotician.
Yeah,
is that
sure.
Yeah,
Chaotician.
He's a human scientist, which I don't know if we've had scientists before. No, we have had. Oh, okay. We have 4 scientists. 2 of them have silver bordered. Teacher's pet and willing test subject from Unstable. This one. And Davros, Dalek creator, which is also yet to be released from the Doctor Who cards.
We're getting there.
Yeah. So, Ian Malcolm is a 2/2 for 1 blue-red. Legendary creature, human scientist. Whenever a player draws their second card each turn, that player exiles the top card of their library. During each player's turn, that player may cast a spell from among the cards they don't own exiled with Ian Malcolm, and mana of any type can be spent to cast it. So it does kind of the Gonti type thing where it's, you get a choice from tops of libraries, and then cast it, which is different than Atali, which you get to cast it for free. But I don't know, it's interesting because it's the is it thing where that we've been seeing a lot lately, where it it cares about specifically the second draw of the turn,
right?
And obviously, on your turn, it's easier to get that second draw, period.
Right.
Than on other people's turns. I struggle understanding this card, I think. Because what's the follow through here? What's the master plan?
Well, I mean, understanding the card's not that difficult. It's
right.
What do you do with it? The idea is that you're going to be using your opponent's cards, and you're going to get more options as long as they're drawing 2 cards. Because it doesn't say 2 cards on your turn. It just says whenever a player draws their second card. So if you got Rhystic Studies and are able to draw 2 cards on an opponent's turn, then you're going to take the top card off, you're going to exile it, and the player whose turn it currently is then now has the opportunity to cast it. And if they don't, then it goes to the next person who would have the opportunity to cast it. The initial thought is you shouldn't draw you don't want to draw cards.
Right.
Because if you're drawing a second card on your turn, you then are exiling a card and giving another person a bigger opportunity to draw cards.
Yeah.
Now, you can try and draw less cards, or have crappier cards. Run cards that your opponents don't want. Well, okay, so now I'm supposed to build a deck around Ian Malcolm that says where I'm trying not to draw cards, and I'm trying to make sure that the cards that I draw are not good.
Right.
Well, okay, so that doesn't make any sense.
Right,
So,
because then, I mean, automatically your opponents are just going to delete Ian Malcolm, and then you just have to play crappy cards.
right. So the better option, I think, is understand that, one, this is chaos. Draw your cards, throw the card in. To me, Ian Malcolm is the equivalent of the Howling Mine. Everybody's getting the benefit.
Yeah.
In fact, you're going to be one of the last ones to get the benefit because you're going to play Ian Malcolm on your turn. And nobody will have thrown a card away yet, so you can't use it. So then on your opponent's turn, assuming that they draw 2 cards, well, you still can't use it because it's not your turn.
Right.
And this goes around. There's all kinds of issues there. But assuming you're just going to play, you're just going to play.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're going to draw 2 cards. Some turns you won't. Or maybe you just don't care. I'm just going to hammer the board with a pile of cards, and whatever happens, happens, with the idea that maybe they'll be nicer to me because I'm giving them cards. By the way, doesn't work very often.
I think what's interesting here is under those circumstances, like thinking about who gets the first benefit. A lot of these like Howling Mine type effects benefit the person directly to your left. Player 2, for instance. And with Ian Malcolm, specifically this card benefits player 3 the first. Because like player 2 will draw their second card, exile the third card with Ian Malcolm, but not be able to play it because they own it. So then player 3 will start their turn and be able to play that card.
Right. The only way the player next to your left gets the benefit is if you play Ian Malcolm and then are able to draw a card.
Right. I guess that's true. Yeah.
So then they would get the 1 card option.
It's tough.
40% of your deck is land, so who knows? The key here is that you can't draw yours, but you can draw all 3 of your opponent's exiled cards. I think the idea here is to try and build a deck that maximizes on what are the most common themes. I guess. I mean, how else do you take advantage of the extra card draw?
It's nice. It's nice that like it's not forcing you to play treasures. A lot of these things where you have to play your opponent's cards, it's either you play them for free or you get to play with any mana type, which is nice. Like I like that about this. I like that it is any mana color, because otherwise it's just mill but slower. So I mean, this really emphasizes, like, if you think about it from a card advantage perspective of like who has the most card advantage. If your opponents are drawing their second card and then exiling a card, you have now, like, say each opponent does that and then you don't. Your opponents each have now access to 3 more cards, and you also have access to 3 more cards. Except their third card, rather than being from you, is in their hand.
Right.
Or so like it all kind of evens out, which is like the weirdest part to me. Like you'd think that like to some extent it would be more advantageous to not draw that second card for you, but like it all evens out.
It does, and this is one of these, like, I love this because where you sit at the table has a huge difference.
For sure.
Because, if you've got one opponent who's a combo player, well, most of the cards they're going to give you are going to be cards that they're either trying to find a combo piece, or it's a piece of the combo, but you don't have the rest. So you're not going to want those cards. You want the cards from the guy who's playing the basic creatures. It's like, I am building up a big pile of creatures and then swinging in, or I have these big spells.
Yeah,
and I'm going to hammer people with those. because those are stuff that are independent that can stand on their own. And that's when you can take advantage of those sort of things. But you want that player sitting in the right position, because if they draw their extra cards on their turn and put those cards down and then exile those cards, the next person's going to use them before you get a chance to. So where you're sitting at the board actually has a huge difference. I love that. That's spectacular. A couple other things to consider. I suspect with Ian Malcolm, if you're trying to get away from the chaos aspect, you're going to want ways to bounce cards back to their owner's hand, or flicker them, and then when they return to the battlefield, they return to the battlefield under their owner's control. Andy and I had met. We were talking earlier. I mentioned homeward path. So everybody gets their cards back. So you can rely on your opponents to cast your permanents for you, and then have them come back to you. Oh, what about that? And spells with not with buyback, but spells with spells that you can recast from the graveyard once they've been cast.
Oh yeah, like flashback or the other.
Yes,
one. Yeah.
Well, flashback was what I was thinking of. So your opponent can play the first spell, but then it's in your graveyard, and you get to play the flashback.
Yeah, I think really leaning into the like table aspect of it all, of like giving everybody a fair share of resources. Like really like play into their like treasure, play into their card draw. I think giving them an overabundance of resources may very well be where this needs to go, because then like you can figure out like what's your underlying strategy of how do I like pull the rug out from them? How do I homeward path everything back to my side? But also like including cards like Fascination or Folio of Fancies or Mikakoro or what's the one? Temple Bell. Like those types of things where everyone draws a card. Because if you can have everyone draw 2 cards in a turn, then great. That'll
Especially
trigger
if it's your turn.
Exactly. So I mean I think there are interesting ways to go about here. I think the other way that you can go with this is more of like a Zedru route, where you will be like you play cards that care about your opponents having your stuff or you having your opponent's stuff.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of that stuff in like Tasha type decks since Commander Legends 2.
Yeah.
So I mean like those are things to keep an eye out for. And that brings us to our last one.
Our last card, Indominus Rex Alpha. Costs 1 with a Dimir hybrid, green.
It's a total of 5.
Yeah. It is a legendary creature, dinosaur mutant. As Indominus Rex Alpha enters the battlefield, discard any number of creature cards. It enters with a flying counter on it if a card discarded this way has flying. The same is true for First Strike, Double Strike, Death Touch, Hexproof, Haste, Indestructible, Lifelink, Menace, Reach, Trample, and Vigilance. When Indominus Rex enters the battlefield, draw a card for each counter on it. So not only are you discarding those creatures, but you're replacing them with other cards.
At least. You like the idea is to, or like a good plan is to discard creatures that have more than one of these, right? Then you draw more than you discard. And I think like it's very interesting. I like the idea behind this. It's much more straightforward than Ian Malcolm, for sure. I don't know if it's a deck that I would build, but I like what it's doing. Maybe I'll do it as a challenge, but what do you think of this card?
Well, I realize it's really difficult, but I mean, Zatalpa just jumps to mind, right?
The white
Flying,
creature?
Double Strike, Vigilance, Trample, Indestructible. Exactly, the white creature. So then you need a different commander.
Yeah.
And yeah. So, but with 3 different colors for Indominus Rex, it's a 6/6 for 5, and it's going to have, God knows what you're going to give it. All of this stuff. I mean, flying, Indestructible, Lifelink, trample. As long as you're giving it a piece of invasion, or a piece of
you don't
evasion.
need flying and reach, but
right. So you'll manage. I'm confident that you're not going to play this unless you've got a couple of cards in your hand. I mean, the card is blue, so you shouldn't have any issues getting a mitt full of cards that you're then going to discard and somehow get back from your graveyard because you're also running black.
Yeah.
Do you need mana? Okay, well, you're running green, so yeah.
What's cool about this too is that I feel like a lot of cards that had this type of thing in Ikoria and stuff, where it cared about a lot of counters, it was generally speaking like for each type of counter. And this is just for each counter. This would be really good in a modular deck, or obviously with the Great Henge, or like things. If you have a card that's like, X comes in with, or creatures you control come in with +1/+1 counters, or anything where it's like, if you have the chance to put counters on this, any number of counters, any type of counters, before that ability resolves, you're going to be drawing extra cards.
Right.
Which is nice.
I could see this in some kind of weird fairy deck. Because fairies will give you a lot of low cost flying creatures that oftentimes also have First Strike or Death Touch or something along that line. So I can see that being an easy way. So your Indominus Rex sort of becomes a mutant fairy, if anything. So
yeah,
this one I love. I can see running. This doesn't need to be in a dinosaur deck. I think this is alone. And I think you can run this. If you're going to run it with the Ozolith, and that way, when your opponent kills Dominus Rex, you've got all those types of tokens are now on the Ozolith, and you can put them on any other creature. So I think this card's really interesting to me.
I find it very interesting with the Ozolith too, because it doesn't become too broken. Because
it's just going on one other creature. I'm not looking for.
But I just mean
suddenly take all these abilities and give them to every creature you have.
Right, but I just mean with the Ozolith, if you replay the Indominus Rex, it's not going to get onto the Indominus Rex until combat. So it's not like you can recur this and keep getting 12, 14, because you can have more than one flying counter on it. It doesn't do anything, but
right.
if that happens, you can if there's a way. I don't know.
There are plenty of ways to move counters from one creature to another. You don't have to move +1/+1. A lot of cards will just say move this counter.
Yeah.
You can spread it around, so you're not just looking to try and hammer somebody with commander damage with your, big, huge, crazy dinosaur.
Yeah. I think there are a lot of ways you can go with this deck in terms of where you're going to focus the most. But I think focusing on getting Indominus Rex out with as many things as possible early will obviously yield the best results. I mean, this is a 5-mana commander for 6. It's a 6/6 for 5, where 2 of the mana are extremely flexible. One is even more flexible, and then you got 2 green. But you could see this on turn 3 pretty easily. And if it's turn 3, that means you probably got 5 cards in hand. And you're using black too, so you probably have ways to get that stuff back out. Also, don't forget Gaia's Blessing, I suppose. But it's a cute card. I'm excited to see it.
Oh yeah, no, I think this is going to be a lot of fun.
I'm excited to see whatever is planned for this. I should look this up.
Let's see. The Jurassic Park cards will mirror the way the Transformers cards worked in the Brothers War. They'll have their own set code, Rex, and will only be legal in Commander, Legacy, and Vintage.
Okay.
They'll be released alongside The Lost Caverns of Ixalan on November 17th, 2023, and will only be found in set and collector boosters.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So exactly how the Transformers cards were released. But I think Ian Malcolm might see like a lot of play when it first comes out. Because it's the weird one, it's the cool one. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see what everyone builds with these cards. I'm excited to see if / when we get universes within versions of these cards, or if Wizards will eventually just take that back in terms of if we are just getting universes within versions of every Universes Beyond card. But I'd love to see what Ian Malcolm, Human Scientist, would be.
Yeah.
My prediction is next time we go to Ikoria, we'll see these cards.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say about any of these cards?
No. I'm looking forward to seeing them come out, and we'll see. Maybe I will be picking up a couple.
Yeah. You know what I'm excited about?
Yes.
Season 13, baby.
You bet.
I'm excited for the season coming up. I'm excited to be back recording with you, not just alone in my home. I'm excited to talk about Magic with someone.
Hey.
And if you're out there listening or watching, thank you so much for this support. We got a YouTube channel, so make sure you go over there and subscribe.
How are you not watching this? Yeah. How are you not watching us on YouTube?
How? We're Temple of the False Pod, where decks are not optimized. We'll be back next week with a new episode. But our plays sure as heck are fun. I'm Andy.
I'm Bruce.
Welcome back, Bruce.
Good to be back.
Again, we'll see you next week. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great night, and may your fifth land be the Temple.
Bye!
Wait. Before you go, I just wanted to say thank you for listening. You can reach out to us via email at falsepodmtg@gmail.com or on Twitter @falsepodmtg. Bruce is @manaburned, and I'm @AndyWeekend, though you'll definitely notice I use the podcast Twitter far more often. Now that we've got you here, make sure you subscribe, like, rate us on whatever podcast platform you use. It helps us out. It gets us more reach. Subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. Like a video there. Leave some comments for more casual enjoyment. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back with some more timeless discussions about all things casual. So come hang out, and may your fifth land be the Temple. Bye-bye. Should I do my best, Bruce? Bye!